financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
I want to welcome everyone to Law and Reality. This is the official launch of the show. The last half hour that we just kind of segue in, but this is the TV version that's being recorded. This is Law and Reality number 1. It's the sequel to the Financial Crisis Talk Center that had a 5-year run. We've changed the name. It is now Law and Reality. My co-host here, Brian Smalls, with me this morning. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Ken. Wonderful to be here. Are you saying the names have been changed to protect the innocent?
Or the guilty, one or the other. Pat Simasko's with us as well, a regular on the show. Pat's from Simasko Law. He's our elder law expert. He's going to be a regular featured person on the show. In weeks to come, you'll find that when he talks, you'll be able to hear him. But for this week, you're going to have to listen carefully because
I lost my voice.
He lost his voice. So, in the words of something that my father would have said to me, well, where did you lose it, son?
Yeah, I think I lost it on my kitchen counter yelling at my kid.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Been there, done that.
I find if I go to a sporting event, like if there was an exciting Tiger game where they came back and won, which happened a couple days ago, but certainly not recently, I can lose my voice quickly. But that comes back faster when that happens. When it goes on the mysterious side, then who knows what's going on. But it's coming. You're better today than you were yesterday.
Yeah, it gets out of me a little bit today anyway.
All right, this segment, so Law and Reality is going to be different from Financial Crisis Talk Center in a lot of respects. And this segment of the show, I want to talk about what we're going to cover in Law and Reality, what's the goal of the show, what's the focus, what are we going to be doing here? I don't want it just to be a name change from the Financial Crisis Talk Center. I want to explain why we're changing it and what we've done. And realistically, the Financial Crisis Talk Center started in 2008, right at the cusp of the economy falling apart. The motivation to start the show was when the auto execs flew off to Washington on their private jets, and the country went bananas against Detroit, saying, let them fold, let them fail. And right when that happened, then the real estate market collapsed. We started the show, and we used to say, well, 6-8 months from now, economy will be back. Golf season will be here. We'll end the radio show. We'll go back to golfing on Saturday morning. And now, 5 years later, we're still here. And during this 5-year period, there were many times where we thought about changing the name of the show to cover more topics and more areas of interest to people other than financial issues. And every time we got close to making the change, there would be some monumental bad news on the economy that occurred that said, no, we better just stay with what we're doing. Well, it's 5 years. I think the marketplace is better. If you have financial problems, it's not better for you, but there's more to Law and Reality than financial crisis. So what we're doing with the show is we're going to broaden the range of topics because people have asked me, Ken, you're a business lawyer. Thav Gross does business issues. Can you cover other issues other than financial? And the answer is yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand the reach of topics. We're going to bring in more experts to cover more issues. But I don't like esoteric conversation. I don't like talking about theory. I like talking about reality. And that's why we picked the name. We looked for a name over the course of really 2 years, and we finally came to Law and Reality as the name.
Law and esoteric didn't fit?
Law and esoteric didn't fit. Now, let me add one little addition to that so you understand the reality perspective. In the modern day world, when you want to pick a name, you also want to pick a website domain name that fits with your name. And in the modern day world, let me tell you, that is not an easy thing to do, because every time you go onto the domain site to say, is this name available? The answer is yeah, for $5,000, this name's available. So finally we find Law and Reality. It was available at the discount price of $200,000. So I just forked up the money and said, I gotta have it. Do you believe that?
No, I do not believe that is reality in any way, shape, or form.
No,
But I
that's
do,
not- that's
believe
fantasy,
that
not
you
even
might have
close to
gone on
reality.
GoDaddy.com and bought it for $5.
No, I found a name that I liked that was available, and I grabbed it. I grabbed it a year and a half ago, waiting to do it, but
Just so everybody knows, he grabbed about 88 different names and then decided on the name of the show.
Yeah, so if anyone wants a similar name, it's available for $200,000. I can sell it to you. How's that? For the modest discount price of $50,000 in the next 6 months. Definition of the word reality: a real event, entity, or state of affairs. The totality of real things and events. That's what reality is. Something that is neither derivative nor dependent, but exists necessarily. It's in reality. So that's what we want to do. Examples: the difference between fiction and reality.
I like the third definition, though. Television programming that features videos of actual occurrences, such as a police chase, stunt, or natural disaster, often used attributively as reality TV. Is that what we've got here? We're a reality TV?
Yeah, not quite. I don't think
I'm excited.
I mean, maybe a couple
When do we
episodes.
get the great race going on?
What would be a tremendous amount
Survivor?
of fun is if we could get Dave, the camera crew, and we can go into the office and film some of the arguments and debates that go on in the context of a day-to-day affairs of a law office. Would probably make interesting
Be great for the ratings.
Yeah, as long as we're able to delete half of the words that are spoken in that circumstance, particularly when Brian and Ken have a heated discussion over how to handle a particular file sometimes.
That's right.
But that's where
But heated discussions
are good.
create great, real results.
Yeah. The only difficulty in doing that is, client confidence is, to me, one of the most important aspects of our business. Pat, it's the same way. So you can't bring in these issues into a law office unless it's fiction, because you're not going to reveal client confidences or have them on the TV. It's not for the public to know. It's a private affair. So that's one of the things you have to wrestle with. So we can talk, but we're not going to bring the client in to that situation. We'll be back after the break with more Law and Reality.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
If your house is underwater, please listen to this important message.
The rules have finally changed. We're seeing some great loan modifications with reduced principal, and short sales are easier to get done than people think. The biggest problems I see are people wait too long or they try and do it themselves. There are no second chances.
If you're underwater in your house, call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're back with Law and Reality. I've got Pat Simasco from Simasco Law, my co-host Brian Small with me. We're talking about how we're changing, how the Law and Reality is going to be different and what we're going to do different than Financial Crisis Talk Center. I'm going to have a realism of the day. The realism of the day today is, what's this all about in terms of what's this show all about? But it brings back a story that I want to share as a way of giving you the insight of what we want to accomplish on the show. Instead of just talking generics, I want to give you the real life story of a case that I had a long time ago and show sometimes the tension that exists between the lawyer and sometimes the judge. I had an insurance death case about 20 years ago, and it was $1 million policy, and it was very hotly contested between our side, that was the beneficiary under the policy, and the insurance companies. They were accusing my client of conspiracy to kill the decedent who was paying on the death benefit, and it was all smoke and mirrors, but it was a very hotly contested case, and there were some very big contract issues in the case because life insurance policies are normally not effective until they're delivered. It's a contract requirement. And in this particular case, the man who died had just gotten married on a second marriage, and the spouse had taken out this insurance policy on him before they left for the honeymoon for $1 million, and he died in Ixtapa, Mexico in a drowning accident, but he didn't immediately drown. He was comatose for a period of a week before he expired. The policy was approved during the gap period of that week and was sent to the agent while he was alive, but the agent couldn't deliver the policy because
they were in Mexico.
So then he dies. So the insurance company defends, saying no delivery, no payment. We sued the insurance company. We sued the agent. We sued for misrepresentation. We had a whole bunch of theories that we were suing on, hotly contested. We filed what's called cross motions for summary disposition, saying we automatically win. They say you automatically lose. We filed like 9 briefs back and forth in front of this one particular judge. Ultimately, the court ruled against us on the contract claim, but preserved the fraud, all the other claims we brought in. We settled the case for like $800,000. The insurance company for the agent paid a full $500,000. The actual life insurance company paid the difference. And then we're going to put the settlement on the record. Well, the insurance company's attorneys said, we don't want to see your face to me ever again. So they made me agree we wouldn't sue that insurance company ever again, which they weren't allowed to do that. But I said, fine. Seemed as though they weren't allowed to do it. I put it in the agreement. And they wanted the settlement under seal. We go in front of the judge. The judge says, I don't like secrets. We're not putting this under seal. So then the insurance company attorney says to the judge, Your Honor, can we approach the bench and whisper the settlement into the record? We don't want anyone to hear it. And the judge says, I don't like secrets. Everyone step back, which, I was fine with this because it was a good settlement. And then the judge says, so what's this case all about? Well, at that point, I practically flipped my lid. I had filed 9 briefs on both sides arguing this case that were decided by this judge. But obviously, it was the judge's clerk that made all the decisions. The judge didn't even know what the case was about. So I stepped back and put the settlement on the record and said, I'm sure, Judge, you remember what this case is about because on such and such a date we filed a motion, and it was briefed on this date, this date, this date, this date. The other side briefed it on this date, this date, this date, and this date, and then we argued in front of you 2 times on the motion. I'm sure you remember it now, don't you, Judge? And the guy goes, yeah, I guess I do. And meanwhile, the other attorney's getting mad because I'm putting all this on the record. The point of the story is, what's this all about? In the real world, we deal with that problem as lawyers Judges also deal. If I have a judge in here, he's going to tell you a story about how the lawyer shows up and he's not prepared and doesn't know what he's doing.
I've had judges fall asleep on the bench while you're arguing motions before. It is, I won't say the judge, but I will just tell you that has happened.
Jurors fall asleep.
Jurors
Can't blame
fall
them
asleep.
sometimes.
People don't pay attention and it's really a lot of times it is the law clerk's job to piece it all together and tell the judge what actually happened.
I'm telling
later.
you right now, if I was a judge, it wouldn't be the law clerk that was making the decisions on the cases. He would do his job and he'd do his research, but I would read the briefs and I would make the decisions. Because you know what?
Of course you would.
Reality is that's what responsibility is, and that's the job
That's your
that you
job.
to do. Yeah.
You know, it's
And,
Why
most
you're
and I want to go on the record because
Most
judges
judge-
listen to the show. Most judges do their job and they do a good job.
I
of it.
love it when I'm in court and the judge says, "I've read the briefs. I'm ready to make a decision unless you have something else to say."
Yeah, sometimes I don't like when they said, "I've read the briefs and I don't want you to say a word." That can be a little bit annoying because you always want to get the last word. But yeah, there are judges that are totally prepared. Most of them are. Okay, the one that I'm talking about is long retired. So in fact, I don't even think he's living anymore.
All my judge friends in Macomb County, though, they're always up to speed. Thank you very much.
There you go. See that now? Pat is this is reality as well. Pat is a politically proper person. He knows where the bread is buttered at times. And I'll say the same thing about Oakland County judges and Wayne County judges. How's that? So anyway, is this the end of financial crisis issues? No way. We're still talking financial crisis issues at times, but we're going to talk other issues. On financial crisis issues, there is no better topic to focus on reality rather than theory. And the reality on financial crisis issues always comes back to the same thing. It's not about the debt. It's about preserving future income for you and your family going forward and finding the most cost-effective strategy to accomplish that. That's the reality to solving a financial problem that you don't typically, if you go to a bankruptcy attorney, I don't think he's going to talk about preserving future income. But that's what the goal is, and if you don't know the goal, you're missing out on the reality.
You know, one of the interesting things that's caused this transition from our previous show to Law and Reality is that as we've delved into all the financial issues, we find that we poke into all these other issues. When we're dealing with financial problems, we deal with divorce. When we deal with financial problems, we deal with even immigration issues. We deal with business issues. We're dealing with all of these other issues that have brought us into this focus of the new show, which is that everything is tied together. And you can't get through one day with one problem
absolutely.
without addressing all these other issues.
It all segues into each other. But there's another aspect that I want, as the goal of the show that I want to bring out is people have questions. People wonder about things, and the goal of this show is to provide the answers. I'll give you one all the time. You hear those Zoom.com commercials all the time. Get your estate plan done. Just go online with Zoom.com. We're not lawyers, so you can get your documents. You can form your corporation. Is that the right thing to do? Should I use a lawyer or should I go to Zoom.com? Does Zoom.com have any real benefits? What about, do I form a corporation or an LLC? We're going to talk about all these types of issues on Law and Reality from a reality perspective. We'll be back after the break.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Are you struggling to pay your mortgage? Afraid of foreclosure and the financial mess it can cause? Time is not on your side. Call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist. For years, Alan has been helping distressed homeowners navigate through the short sale process. His experience will get you out of your home without the credit score damage that follows foreclosure. If you want a fresh start, you need to call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist, 248-854-3829 or MetroDetroitShortSale.com.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
An important message if you're planning to file for Social Security disability.
The biggest problem I see is people don't go to an attorney until after the claim for disability is denied. You need to get it right the first time.
Before you file for Social Security disability, call Thav Gross.
We do the homework to make sure the claim is properly presented so that you get the benefits you deserve.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Call today.
All right, welcome back. I've got Pat Simasko from Simasko Law, our elder law expert, regular on the show. My co-host Brian Small. All right, we're talking about reality issues, what we're going to do different with Law and Reality. I want to do a couple quick announcements. First, I want to reach out, thank our sponsors, Gold Star Law. I'm starting to lose my voice like you, Pat. Simasko Law.
That's okay. I'll take care of the entire
Elite
show.
REO
Then.
Services, Alan Stalter, Trips Auto Shop and Collision Shop in Jackson and Lansing, and U.S. Staffing in Jackson and Lansing. We have another seminar coming up. This one is with Pat and I jointly on October 22nd of this year, called How Do I Protect My Assets, particularly if the nursing home problem arises. Pat and I are going to address issues of asset protection for elderly people. Pat's a nationally recognized elder law specialist. He knows this material like it's part of him. Everything that he does is focused on this issue. I'm going to come in as a host of the seminar and do a little bit of a segment on financial issues that attach to elderly people from the standpoint of credit card debt or the problem with their children and so on and so forth. If you're going to leave the assets to the kids, how do you solve the kids' financial problems? That seminar is going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at our offices. If you want it, it's on October 22nd, so there's plenty of time to sign up for it. Just call 888-235-HELP. On our website, you'll be able to sign up for it, but that sign up won't be available until September 15th. That's going to be at lawandreality.com or thavgross.com, and maybe at simaskolaw.com if we can get it onto their site as well. So there'll be more on that to come in the future. I just kind of wanted to get that announcement out there. All right, back to Law and Reality. And when we went to the break, we were saying, like, you know, you're watching Zoom.com, people have questions. I'll give you another example of things that we want to talk about. We're going to bring in experts, and we're going to talk about it. That comes up in everyday life. Do you know what an MIP is?
I do. I have to be very aware of those at this time because I've got minors in college and minors in my house.
Okay,
Me
so
too.
an MIP isn't the same as an MP, as in military
it's
police.
It's a minor in possession.
This is something that I have never seen a television or a radio show cover in Michigan, but in my experience, every parent, when their children go through the teen through college years, if they have more than one child, that issue is going to come across the table of their kid or their kid's friend being issued an MIP. And so I'm going to bring in a couple experts to talk about that in the shows ahead. Why? Because people need to know what their rights are and what goes on about it. And I want to get that information out there so you don't always have to make the appointment with the lawyer after the fact to try and solve the problem. You can know what you're in for going ahead, and then you can make the right decisions. That's just another one.
Well, it's the reality is that everybody that has kids is going to have their kid do something stupid during their kid's lifetime. It happens. There's nothing you can do about it other than be prepared. So you might as well know what the ramifications are and how to deal with it.
You know, the reality is that they're allowed to be stupid once. It's the second, third time that just ruins their life.
Yeah, but even on that first one, there's consequences, and it's like once you have that, even though it's an expunged record, it's a non-public record. You go to apply for your in education, and they ask, have you ever been arrested for, not convicted, arrested. If you lie on that application and then they find out about it, you're history. If you tell the truth, you're not. People need to know how to respond to those things because they don't want it to, it's a non-public record, I don't have to tell. Well, that was what the intention was, but that's not reality.
It's even as simple as how to deal with a speeding ticket for your 16-year-old. There's a lot of issues there.
How
People
to
go,
deal
what
with
is
a
that?
speeding ticket for your 55-year-old too? How do you go about getting it so you don't get the points? You don't want the points. That's another one. I give divorce. We're going to have a couple of our divorce attorneys in here to talk about the things that we don't necessarily always talk about. I want to cover the husband's perspective. I want to cover the wife's perspective. I want to cover the issue. Do I move out of the house? Don't I move out of the house? How much alimony do I realistically, am I looking at having to pay? Can I force the wife to pay me alimony? What about the kids? Is it worth fighting for custody? What am I looking at legal expense-wise before I find out that it cost me $200,000? Should I know that going in? People need to cover the reality of these issues, and they need to know the reality going in. It's just like, go back to what we talked about in financial crisis. Perfect example. Tax consequences we've talked about all the time on canceled debt. How can you go and decide to short sell a home or to settle your credit card debt if you don't know ahead of time whether you'll be subject to tax consequences or not? Susie Orman used to say, oh, you better talk to a tax advisor. Well, what I always say is you better know before you decide what you're going to do if there's tax consequences, because that's going to determine whether or not you do it. Same thing on all legal issues. You have to look at the reality of what you're facing. And that's what we're going to try and bring out in this show. So it's going to touch on every different area. Elder law, which we're going to cover thoroughly in a couple of weeks with Pat. We were going to do it today, but I decided to spare Pat's voice. But you have so many issues there. If all of a sudden, first, here's the biggest issue in my mind. Everyone's planning on baby boomers dying at 85 to 90. I got news for you. I'm living to 103, and I'm a baby boomer. I'm 60. That's my goal. But if that's my goal, I better have a plan that puts food in my mouth and shelter over my head to 105, not 85. And all these people are making the mistake of, great, go ahead, die early. You got nothing to worry about other than your surviving spouse, okay? But if you're going to live, you better plan for it. And I think medicine's going to keep us alive.
Longevity is the number one retirement risk right now. And I was in a seminar in Arizona that a PhD said that this was the first year that someone was born that will be living to 150 years old.
Well, now that's getting up there. I can see if I go to 150, as long as I don't look a day over 122, I think I'll be happy with that.
Good luck with that.
On that note, we'll bring to a conclusion this segment of Law and Reality. On our next segment of Law and Reality, we have a special guest, Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon, will be joining us.